I know, I better not fall in.
You can't get much wetter.
No, I couldn't get, I am absolutely soaked to the bone, but it was sure fun getting that way, let me tell you. Lake Huron is a beautiful lake, but it does command a lot of respect.
It does, and the Coast Guard was nice enough to take us out on one of their vessels so we could take a closer look at the pleasure craft, which are in abundance outside the port of Kincardine.
Oh, that's right. And as we explore all the opportunities there is on the lake in Kincardine, we're going to head into town and discover the rich Scottish heritage and all the tourist destination sites, including some great music and some great theatre today.
So join us today on our day trip to Kincardine.
This program is brought to you in part by Rogers AT&T Wireless, Canada's largest digital network. More ways to communicate than you ever thought possible. Imagine.
This program is brought to you in part by Rogers VIP. This unique package offers more music, sports, movies, and entertainment with all of the specialty channels. Members are eligible for additional savings through VIP partners like Rogers at Home, Rogers AT&T, Rogers Video, and more.
Brought to you by Rogers Digital Cable. This service provides the most movies, sports, and music, all with superior digital quality. Also experience the internet on television with interactive TV, only on Rogers Digital Cable. Where will it take you?
How long has the Coast Guard been situated here in Kincardine?
Well, we've had a boat here since 1988. We started with a town boat, and that was shut down a few years ago. Excuse me.
Oh, right.
Because of cutbacks and whatever, the boat was sold, and then we had the boat. This boat was up at Hydro, up at Douglas Point. They were using it up there as a work boat and as a rescue boat. And they decided they didn't need the boat anymore, so it was donated to the Blue Water Rescue Unit.
Great. How wide of a range do you have?
We go normally from Point Clark to Douglas Point, and we can go out as far as 45 miles from home.
Now, Kincardine is a real haven for power boaters and for for pleasure boaters.
Yeah.
Do you find that because there's so many power boaters and pleasure boaters around here, there's a call for your services on a regular basis?
Oh yeah, we get called fairly regularly. We've had as many as 22 calls in a year. This year it's been fairly quiet, but one never knows what happens.
On a busy weekend, about how many pleasure craft would be in the waters around here?
Oh, probably anywhere up to 100 any given time. Well, during the Derby, probably get several hundred out.
That's the big salmon derby that you guys were talking about.
Well, we got two derbies running here, so currently there's one running.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking us out today. I know it was quite rough out there for a while, but now we're back in closer to shore. It's not too bad at all.
No, it's actually it's good sailing weather for sailboats.
Oh, this is the time when they should be out.
Well,
Great.
yeah, there's one out there.
Oh yeah.
And one out there.
Of course, one of the big draws to Kincardine is boating and sailing on Lake Huron, and we are in beautiful Kincardine Harbor. Peter, what makes Kincardine such a great destination for boaters?
Well, a lot of the visiting boats that come find it really convenient that the marina, the harbor area, is right adjacent to the main business district. Town is just a block away, so it's easy to walk up and shop. There are many other areas where it's a 1.5 mile walk from where you would dock the boat to town. There's a beautiful beach right beside the harbor as well. And I think the harbor looks very attractive with the lawns and grass. So many places are rock and concrete.
Now, I understand there's quite a bit of history to this harbor, other than it's just being so beautiful to see on its own. But what is the history behind the Kincardine Harbor?
Well, the harbor was initially built as a shipping port. So grain was shipped from here. At one point in time, there was a salt mine immediately south of the harbor. So salt was shipped by sailboats, by schooners. Lumber was brought in, coal was brought in. So it was a very active shipping port, and as well there was a lot of fishing with fishing schooners going out in the lake, and that also got shipped to market. So it was very much a commercial operation, and then in the last 25 years it's really shifted to recreational boating with sailing and fishing and just enjoying the waterfront.
Mm-hmm. Now, what makes, I know Lake Huron, of course, is a great lake, and there's a reason why they call them Great Lakes, because it makes for a very different boating experience, doesn't it?
It's very different from being in little small lakes. When you get a lot of wind, you get quite large waves. People that aren't familiar with how large the Great Lakes are can look here and think it's more like the ocean. You can't see the other side. The closest port is about 55 miles away. So you get a very varied experience as far as boating goes, from calm drifting days to very exciting sailing with a lot of wind and large waves.
There's a lot of great stories around the harbor.
Especially in the commercial times, the large sailing schooners were not very maneuverable. And when they were trying to come into the harbor, every once in a while they would make a mistake. And of course they didn't have the navigational instruments that we have now, and they didn't have any motors. So if they made a mistake too close to shore, they would hit shore. And there is, you can still see the remains of the Anna Maria, which is the remains of a large fishing schooner, a shipping schooner. And the backbone of the vessel is actually visible right on the beach today.
I understand all of that's preserved, so if you're not necessarily a boater, or if you are a boater, you can enjoy a little bit about the history here at the harbor and the lighthouse, is that
yes, right? Yes, the Yacht Club has been running a museum in the lighthouse for the last, well, I guess 20 years, so there are photographs and various memorabilia about the marine history of the Kincardine area. And it's open for visitors all through the summer, and it's actually free, there's no charge.
One of the most beautiful features of Kincardine is the fact that it's right on Lake Huron. And each year, at the end of July and the beginning of August, they have the CFPS Chantry Chinook Salmon Contest. And right now I'm with Ken, who's going to take me down to the shore and let me try my hand. You all set to go?
Sure am, Rock. You're going to need a lucky derby hat when we're out there catching those big Chinook.
Well, great. Thank you very much.
And just remember, those who lose fish are glad the fish can't talk. So let's go get us a couple.
All right, let's go. Come on, August, let's go. Come on.
The big product out here is that Chinook salmon. Rainbow trout, our brown trout, and lake trout are also available out here.
So tell me, in a lake like Lake Huron, how plentiful are the fish nowadays?
Gee, it would be real simple if I could take you out for a half a day and make sure that we return by noon. We'd have 8 to 10 fish on board. We'd maybe have 20 tries at it. We'd maybe miss a few, but we'd bring some fish back to shore with us.
Well, with all the anglers that come out for these tournaments, you think Lake Huron will ever get fished out?
No way, and I'll tell you why. Because for every fish we put in this, for every fish we take out, we always want to put one back. Let me show you how we put them back at our local hatchery here.
Oh, that's great. Let's go.
Okay.
Come on, Argus. So, Ken, this is where it all begins, right?
Certainly. The Lake Huron Fishing Club welcomes you to our brown trout hatchery in Kincardine here. Every October, we go and pick up our eggs at the Normandale hatchery. The eggs look like this when they first come into our building. A short period afterwards, you can see the eye up stage, and then approximately 7 to 9 days after eye up, you'll see the hatchlings come out. The hatchlings will survive in our simulated stream bed tanks here with a very good flow, which of course there's 4 tanks. There'll be 126,000 to 130,000 eggs in these tanks. Once they begin feeding on a very small feed, then of course we move them into our intermediate tanks. That's a time-consuming effort because we count them at that time. Once they've fed and moved out of the intermediate tanks, we move them into our wonderful larger tanks, which of course we move them onto a coarser feed. And there's approximately 22,000 in this tank.
So this is an automatic feed. It comes out to feeds every couple of hours?
That's correct. We monitor the rate of growth of the fish by simply weighing a measured amount of water, putting in 50 fish, and reweighing it. That way we know how to increase the amount of feed to sustain the best rate of growth throughout the 12-month period of the gestation for these fish.
Is this the stage that you would then release them back into the streams and bays?
These will go back to the stream this fall whenever they reach approximately 40 grams. Right now, I believe the average weight on them is around 25 grams. I'll just get a net full for you here to show you. Now they're going to get to about 40 grams, and of course then we'll move them up and down the shoreline. The water temperature in this building is approximately 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the stream temperature is reduced from the summer heating to within 1 to 2 degrees of that, and we have club members up and down the shoreline taking care of the temperature, we move with our fish transfer trailer.
Now, why is the temperature of the stream so important?
Well, again, we don't want to create any shock value for these fish. We also cut back on the feeding for approximately 48 hours prior to release. As we see that temperature getting close, we know we're going to be moving the fish. We cut back on the feed so that when these young, healthy fish come out of our building and they go into that big lake or into the Saugeen River system, they're going to be hungry and ready to survive, be it eating bugs from the surface, suspended bait, or crustaceans off the bottom.
So this is Princess Street that I'm on. Wow. You know, I picked up this heritage walking tour, and it's a self-guided tour that you can take through the town of Kincardine. And I'm on Princess Street, and I'm going to take a look at some of the architecturally significant homes that are available here. And this is quite a nice house. Hi there, is this your house?
Oh yes, good morning.
Good morning, I'm Lisa.
How do you do? I'm Annette.
Oh, nice to meet you, Annette. Tell me a little bit about this house. I'm on the self-guided walking tour.
Well, this is our home, and the style is early Victorian, eclectic, and reflects the history and our architectural significance of this town.
So there's lots of architecturally significant buildings on this particular street.
There are many. However, there are also many lovely homes of significance throughout the community. And they reflect various styles. They also reflect the significant history of this community, which began around the port and also the lumber industry. So the homes reflect that in their style and the beauty and the richness of the woods. Right. And it was a very prosperous community. And we're happy to be able to live in it and share it.
Now you have an annual event, because when I was at the tourism center, that happens at the end of August, where people can go on this big walking tour. What does all that encompass?
That's a guided tour, and there is a short walk of an hour and a long walk of 2 hours, where people have guides and are able to go into the homes and some of the buildings on Main Street that have been converted to businesses. And learn more about.
So that's a big event, but you also, as I have done, have picked up this self-guided brochure to guide you along, but I'm not sure how long it would take me to do the walking tour by myself.
You might spend approximately an hour, but you certainly could spend a half a day if you wanted to.
And I think that we're going to head up to what should be the next street I should turn on, and I can thank you very much for leading me along.
You're very welcome. Pleasure to have you. The next street of major interest would be Queen Street, the main business street. Okay. But don't forget the other lovely buildings throughout the town.
I won't. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, where are
That's a real interesting part of our history. This is the old Merchant Bank building built in 1883, and the contractor put the faces of his family up on the building, and during the construction process, one of the children died. And if you see, he's sleeping at the end there. The rest all have their eyes open. We're really fortunate in Kincardine to have such wonderful facades. Most of our stores in downtown here were built in the 1880s and are typical of the Renaissance classic style, which was very typical of towns of that time. You note that the buildings are 3-story and have very ornate windows and cornices with ornate brackets underneath them. We can see that all the way down our street. We're fortunate that most of our buildings have been untouched and are pretty much the same as they were in the 1880s, and that's the way we want them to stay. Make sure and look at the 2nd and 3rd story, because that's where you see the architectural features of the Renaissance revival style. Ask people, ask the locals. We love our history. We're very proud of it. We want to share that with anyone that's interested.
picturesque with the shoreline. And it's one of the most southerly areas on the shore of Lake Huron where we see the first of the Precambrian shield, which of course forms the famous Bruce Peninsula and the Bruce Trail. We have the nuclear station, the biggest one in North America. My understanding is that the Bruce Nuclear Establishment, which is just north of the airport, many of the people that travel through this area are very interested in seeing it. Together with that, of course, the town itself of Kincardine is very picturesque, and we fly sightseeing customers over the town itself and the harbor, particularly at sunset. It's quite beautiful here when the sun is setting across Lake Huron. And of course, because we have the ability to vary our altitude considerably, we can often show our sightseeing passengers 2 or 3 sunsets in one trip by climbing to a certain altitude just after the sun goes down to get again over the horizon. And people we find are very receptive to that sort of thing. Most of our trips last about a half hour, although we can do them for any period of time that the customer wishes. We take 3 passengers in each airplane. We have 4 airplanes. And we are finding now that we're getting quite a number of requests for 3 couples, in other words 6 people. And of course we take 2 airplanes, and as you and I are talking now, each of the passengers can talk to the people in the other airplane.
So Laura, what makes all this white sand? Because I was really struck when I first came here about the mounds and mounds of white sand.
Well, you know, when you come into Inverhuron Provincial Park, what you're seeing is remnants of glacial Lake Nipissing. And when glacial Lake Nipissing left this area over 10,000 years ago, it left these deposits of sand, which have reformed and formed themselves time and time again, and have been an attraction for people just like you and me for actually well over 3,000 years.
So it makes an ideal beach setting, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a wonderful beach setting, and a wonderful area where there's been prehistoric archaeological sites, there have been historic town sites that have all, you know, people have just come to this area because of the sand.
Nora, the beach is just as beautiful as the sand on the walk up here. Tell me a little bit about what you can do when you're here at the beach at Inverhuron Park.
Well, you know, today what you can do is you can go swimming, you can go windsurfing, you can do boating because there's a boat launch, and so a lot of people, of course, use the boat launch to put in their boats. There are a few trails that you can walk on. There's a picnic shelter, so wonderful facility for day use. And in the future, what we're looking at is creating a campground back in the wooded area over there. And that'll be just a really nice area to come to go camping.
And when is Inverhuron Park open to the public?
Every year we're open from May, second Friday of May, through to Thanksgiving weekend. And of course walk in at any time. But for drive-in, that's when you're able to come in.
Now, why should a family jump in the car and make the trek up here to Inverhuron, which is in the municipality of Kincardine?
It just gives you a peace of mind and a chance to get back to nature in a way, and yet have a wonderful opportunity to go swimming. Here you can come to Inverhuron.
So you can hike, you can bike. What are the trails like to hike on?
Well, our trails are not overly developed at the present time. We've had some trails that you can walk on. We don't encourage biking on them. Some of them are through fairly hazardous dune areas, and because it's a provincial park, we want to protect the environment. We want to make sure that those rare, threatened, and endangered plants that exist in our dunes are able to exist longer. And so we don't encourage bikes, but we certainly encourage walking along the trails.
You ever wonder how they got the reactors up here?
On a barge, right?
Now, whoever told you a story like that? How long did you say you've been at the Bruce?
Oh, right, so I may not be one of the old hands around here, but that's what they told me when I started.
A barge? Oh, jeez. Well, I'll be...
You know, Pete, you're one of the best welders around, but you are such a cornball.
You know, Rob, when I found out today I was coming out to Bruce Nuclear, I didn't expect what I found here. You have over 6,000 acres, which is a blend of both nature and industry.
Yeah, that's a balance we kind of pride ourselves on here. We have the large multi-scale nuclear plants, the original prototype, Douglas Point.
Now, when did that start?
Douglas Point, 1960. We've been here about 40 years in the community.
That's incredible. And how large of a plant do you have now? How large of operation is it?
Roughly, we provide about 1/7 of Ontario's electricity.
That is incredible. And how many people are here to run this?
At this time, we have about 3,500 employees.
Now, I can see quite a bit just from where we're standing right here, but if a family was to come here, what could they expect to see and do?
Well, if they drop in off the highway, and we're about maybe 15 minutes north of Kincardine, they can just drop into the information center. They don't need an appointment. If they call ahead, chances are we can give them a tour. If they arrive in the summer months, July, August, most definitely we can give a tour. We send out a bus 3 times a day, usually loaded with people. Now we also have exhibits and displays in the information center, cafeteria service. We also have a 120-seat amphitheater for viewing films as well. So we can entertain them.
No shelling for 3 nights. For now, Tobruk is ours. Who the hell wants it?
I've been told by people who have come and done appraisals of the theatre we're doing for the Canada Council and organizations like this, that we are doing theatre that's on equality with anyone in Canada, and that's very exciting to me. We're doing material that doesn't generally get done in summer theatres, and it's done very well. And we do it with really fine artists that are coming here because they've heard that the accommodation is great, and they've heard about the beach. They say, well, I'll do a gig in Kincardine, and then I'll have a summer vacation at the same time. So
That makes a perfect day trip.
it does, yeah.
Band, by the right! Quick! March!
Well, there's a lot to tell about the Kincardine Scottish Pipe Band, actually. It was formed in 1908, and we've been probably running steady ever since then. It's the oldest continuous marching street band in Ontario that we know of, and perhaps in Canada. There are a lot of people, a lot of pipe bands that started before that, but they've had breaks through the wars and that sort of stuff. But we've been continuous since 1908, which means we'll be 100 years old in 2008.
So that's going to be a big party, isn't it?
It's going to be a dandy party. We have lots of plans already.
You have another great tradition that's been continuous over the years too, and that's what you do every Saturday night.
Yes, every Saturday night, rain or shine, we march down the main street of Kincardine, right down Queen Street from Victoria Park to the far end and back again, and we give a concert in the park. And that's been going on since after the Second World War.
And what was the purpose in having a parade like that?
I don't think there was any purpose to start with. It just happened. There's a pipe band, and pipe bands pretty well need to march somewhere. So they started marching, and the people loved it. And there's a lot of Scots, as you know, in Kincardine, and it just carried on, and it just got bigger and bigger until you see what you saw tonight.
Now there is an element too that you can actually take part in the parade if you're a visitor to the area.
Yes, for sure. We encourage that actually. It's one of the few pipe band parades that you will see that have an entourage of maybe 1,000 people walking behind us. They have kids and dogs and grandmothers and grandparents, and everybody is welcome to join.
So everybody becomes Scottish when they come to Kincardine.
They do. Exactly. And the end of August, usually the weekend before Labor Day, we have what we call a gathering of the bands, and we invite pipers and drummers from all over the country, all over the world if they want to come, free of charge for them, of course. And we have a mass band here on that Saturday night. And last year we were very, very close to 300 pipers and drummers.
Lisa, this is a perfect way to end a great day in Kincardine with a stroll along their boardwalk, which they tell me is over 1 kilometer long.
That's right, and it winds its way down the sandy shores of Kincardine, and it's also a great place to catch the magnificent Kincardine sunset, which they say is amongst the best in the world.
Wow. You know, legend has it that from the boardwalk you can actually hear the Phantom Piper of Kincardine.
What a romantic town. I can't believe this.
It certainly is a great place, isn't it?
The legend of Donald Sinclair dates back to 1856. On a cold October day, a small vessel left the port of Goderich, carrying a family from the Isle of Skye, Scotland. It was the final leg of the journey for the immigrant family, intending to farm at Penetangro, now Kincardine. As the boat approached Point Clark, the sky turned black and a fierce, cold wind started to blow out of the west. Donald Sinclair, fearing for his family, went down into the hold and fetched his pipes. He prayed for safe passage and then played a lament. The sound of the pipes carried across the water to Penetangro, where another piper heard the rich sound. The settler on shore retrieved his pipes and played another lament in return. The sky suddenly cleared in the west as the sun set beneath the cold waters. For many years after the narrow escape, Donald Sinclair often went down to the harbor to play the pipes at dusk. They say it was a way to remember his good fortune and to remind others of the power of the pipes.
This program is brought to you in part by Rogers AT&T Wireless, Canada's largest digital network. More ways to communicate than you ever thought possible. Imagine.
This program is brought to you in part by Rogers VIP. This unique package offers more music, sports, movies, and entertainment with all of the specialty channels. Members are eligible for additional savings through VIP partners like Rogers at Home, Rogers AT&T, Rogers Video, and more.
Brought to you by Rogers Digital Cable. This service provides the most movies, sports, and music, all with superior digital quality. Also experience the internet on television with interactive TV, only on Rogers Digital Cable. Where will it take you?
This program has been brought to you in part by the municipality of Kincardine. For more information about the Kincardine Scottish Festival or any of its attractions, contact the Visitor Information Centre at 519-396-2731 or check out the web at www.kincardine.net.